What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today we have a Porsche 996 in for a full wrap, and in this video I'm going to show you the wrap process and how to deal with some of the tricky areas on this car. I'm Lucas. This is Astro Auto Styling. I've already started disassembly on this vehicle. I just got to pull the headlights. That's all that's left. I usually don't pull headlights, but these ones seem to be pretty easy. The door handles, got those out. Come over here. We got the tail lights out. We got the rear, I don't even know what you call them, like those bumper things over here. Pull those out. Door panels obviously had to come out. Tail lights are there. The door handles are by far the most difficult part, just because there's a bolt close to the edge of the door here that's really difficult to reach. But if you can get that, then pulling them is relatively easy. There are some imperfections in the paint here, more like it's pretty much just in the clear coat. You see another one there. So I think the story for this vehicle, talking to the customer, is he's switching. There's issues with the soft top right now. So he wants to switch that soft top to a hard top, but it doesn't match. So instead of paying, I don't know, a couple $1,000 to match it, we can just wrap the car for pretty much that cost and change the color of the entire vehicle. The front bumper here, obviously we're gonna need some inlays, and I'll show you how I do those inlays when it gets there, or when I get there. If you remember, the Nissan had a very small recess like this on the bumper. And in that video, I mentioned I don't like these because when I'm pulling this way, it's difficult to lay into there. So I actually might put an inlay in there, and I know that seems extra, but I don't know, it's a very tight bend, so I just feel like that will bubble up. I could be wrong, but better safe than sorry. It's kind of how I view it. There's another one on the back here. On the rear bumper, we have this. It goes all the way pretty much to the license plate area. It'd be nice if it actually went to the edge of the bumper, because then you can just put like a seam there. But I'm probably going to inlay this too. And I don't know. I understand it seems extra because like just lay into it, but it's so, I don't know if you can see, it's such a sharp bend that laying in while pulling around, just like the Nissan, I don't know. That'll be pretty difficult to do that. The most fun area, however, is going to be this spoiler. So getting into all of these little tight areas is going to be fun. We have to cover all of these little spokes, I'm not sure what you call them, in between each wing of the spoiler. But we can do it. Just going to take some time. I should also mention that this car is going from a very bright, vibrant color to a much darker color. What that means is areas like this in here, if I wrap this dark and this dark, you'll still see that teal color in there. Same with the hood. So if I look in here, you can see inside there is a teal color. So you have to wrap a bit further than you otherwise would with a dark car. When you have such a drastic color change like this, those areas become more noticeable. Back here as well, if we look in here, like I can see blue in there. So this is not like a door jam thing where customers pay you like that extra price to do all the door jams, but just to do a clean job, you just have to wrap further. It doesn't cost you that much time, or like no material is extra because you're already in there. Just make the cuts a little wider than they otherwise would be, and it'll look much cleaner at the end. That's it for all the tricky areas. It's actually a pretty easy car. the car is completely finished, and let's go over some of the difficult areas and a mistake I made when quoting this car. When the customer dropped the car off or asked for a quote, I quoted it like a regular coupe. It looks really small, didn't look difficult at all to do, but I made a mistake. I treated it like a regular coupe, but I forgot it's an older vehicle, and I didn't look at the specifics of the car, which always messes you up because every car is different, right? One example is these door handles. They're obviously much more involved to do a door handle like this. There's multiple pieces compared to the Mercedes over here. This door handle, right? These are pretty easy. They just pull one strip, and then if you want to put a piece in the back, you can. But these are very straightforward. The place that really messed me up, however, was the spoiler. This spoiler was an absolute nightmare to do. So I made some compromises with the customer. All these tiny little blue spokes in between, he's going to end up painting those just because little pieces like wrap, I wasn't confident they would stick. If we look here, you can see each of these is one piece, and you can see the seam here for when this piece was laid on top of all of it. Obviously, I had to raise the spoiler too to do the inside, but that's normal. Let's move on to the bumpers. Again, looking at this car, I just assumed, it's going to be very easy to do. And I was wrong because these little things that you don't pay attention to. This bumper is completely round. Like if we're looking at it here, there's no real flat section. Normally, if you're wrapping the bumper, you have a flat section you can kind of anchor the vinyl to and then stretch around. This anchor, whatever you want to call it, in the middle there, right here, is very curved. So it kind of messes up when you're pulling the vinyl. I would recommend if you're doing a car like this with a very round bumper that you need a way to lift the car off the ground. It's so low to the ground here. It's hard to get enough stretch to pull it around the bumper. That's what I struggled with the most. Obviously, it's still doable, but it'd be a lot easier if this was lifted. Looking in here, if you guys can see, the car was obviously blue, and right here, this is not me messing up. I'm assuming the bumper was repainted and there's paint on the plastic here. So there's some areas like that, which is just kind of annoying, but you have to let your customer know just so they understand what happened there. As far as inlays go, we have one here, we have one in here, and one in here. This one, I put it further than I need to. It could probably go up here. But because the bumper, it's difficult to see from this angle, but the bumper curves inwards. So if I come on this angle, this opening is not perfectly square. It turns into the bumper. I don't know if I can get a good angle of it. Maybe this is better. You can see it turns in, right? So it pulls the vinyl in more than normally would if it was flush with the bumper. So I used the inlay to take that into account, and that's why I ended up being like that. Same thing on this side. We got inlays there and inlays in those two corners. As I mentioned earlier in the video, these recesses here, I did inlay them. So I put knifeless tape on the top and bottom, ran a piece, cut it with the knifeless tape to go right on those body lines. And then when I laid the bumper, when it came to this recess, I was right. You can't lay it in just because of the way you pulled the bumper. It made it very difficult. I laid the bumper and then you just cut it in half and push the top part in and then lay the bottom part in. And it comes out really nice. The rear bumper is the same story, a couple inlays and then a main piece. So the inlays I put here in that corner and on the opposite corner. And then when you laid the whole bumper piece, you can cut this out and flap this up to get all in the middle part. Just like the front, I did the same thing. I used knifeless tape, cut it around, and then when I actually pulled the main bumper piece, you just cut it in half right on that gap, and then you lay in the top and lay in the bottom, and it looks really clean, and it won't bubble up. Because you laid in, that won't bubble up. Those are pretty much all the difficult areas. This line you see here is the PPF that was on the car before. I told the customer I didn't feel comfortable taking it off, so we just left it on. That's what it looks like if you wrap with a PPF on. The only unfortunate thing about a satin color, I really like this color, but the one bad thing is you can see all of these dents. They kind of stick out a bit more. There's a couple on the fender. If I can get the right angle. Oh, there you go, right at the top there. Right there. We come around here. He had some carbon fiber mirror caps. This is not wrap. This is already here. These are those imperfections in the paint that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. They still are there. There's another one there, right? But it looks really, really, really good. Actually, I should show you the hard top that I wrapped because it has those same recesses as the bumper. And this is the hard top right here. And as you see, we have the exact same recess that's on the two bumpers. This one I did lay into, so I didn't use an inlay for this one because this top, as you can see, is not like a bumper. I don't need to pull around a corner. So I just started the vinyl here, pulled it across, right? So we have our wrinkles going this way. And then I worked the vinyl down and then worked it up. Because I'm working it up and this recess is in the same direction as I'm working, I can just, like I work the vinyl up, 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 get to here, lay in, and then keep working, right? It's not like the bumper where I'm pulling this way and then have to lay this way. I was working this way so I can lay this way on the top, and that's how I did that. Those are all the tricky areas. I mean, it was a little bit harder than I expected. Not too bad though. Disassembly, yes, the door handles were hard, but everything else came apart very easily. Headlights, mirrors, taillights, much easier than modern cars. So I guess that's a bonus if you're going to wrap one of these. So that's it, guys. That's how to wrap a Porsche 996. Any question, just ask in the comments, and thanks for watching.